Let me tell you a story about a time when I was supposed to be a high performing leader and I stood in front of 50 team members and shouted, "If you don't like working here, there's the gate." Look, this was back in 1994 and I was the people and culture leader. And yep, that was my title way back then for Colgate Palmolive in a greenfield high performing manufacturing facility. Now, 3 months earlier, we'd hired these 50 team members, promising them that this would be the most engaging, inclusive, different workplace they'd ever worked in. Now, here's the thing, being involved in a startup is stressful. You work really long hours, there's extraordinary levels of chaos, and if anything can go wrong, well, it will. So each week we had team meetings where we brought everyone in the facility together to discuss what was working, what wasn't working, and where we were heading. So in this particular meeting, it was my turn at the front of the room to discuss the people side of things, and people started grumbling at me. You said this when you were hiring us, Shelley. You sold us a pup. And they were all grumbling at me. And I was trying to explain that we were heading in the right direction. We were heading where we wanted to go. But it just wasn't going to happen overnight. The team wasn't having a bar of any of the explanations I put to them. So I'm standing in the front of the room feeling attacked, feeling hurt, feeling quite insecure. And I was feeling attacked because it wasn't my fault that things weren't running as smoothly as we'd expected. And the team members didn't seem to want to listen to me or be reasonable. I was hurt because I was expecting the rest of the leadership team would step in and step up and support me in explaining why things weren't working out the way we expected. But they all just sat there with their arms folded and their mouths shut and left me to face down what felt like a lion's den. And I was feeling insecure because who was I to think that I could be a leader in a high performance environment? So it was kind of like imposter syndrome was sitting well and truly on my shoulder. Now, in that moment, I didn't have the emotional maturity to understand that I was feeling hurt, attacked, and insecure, and that those feelings were clouding my judgment. That insight actually came much later after some very deep reflection. All I knew was that my heart was pounding and I was starting to fire up because that's how I react in a pressure situation. I'm kind of a fight person. So after about 10 minutes of back and forth, I put those big old boxing gloves on and I came out swinging and I shouted at this room of 50 people. And remember, these were people that we'd hired 3 months earlier and who'd actually spent more than 11 hours each in recruitment with us. And I shouted at them, "If you don't like it here, there's the gate. You can off." Oh my God, that just didn't come out of my mouth. And I looked at my team, the people I'd spent hours upon hours recruiting, and I could see the shock, I could see the horror and the disappointment and the anger on their faces. So I did what every great leader does. I burst into tears and left the room. Look, here's what I learned from this. Team members and your peers don't forget, and they often never forgive when you screw up as a leader and lose the plot. I also learned that when the red mist descends, if you don't use the moment of choice, what comes out of your mouth, you're going to regret. But you know what? The great outcome from this most humiliating moment of my life, I mean, it still sends shivers down my spine to this day. But the great outcome was that it set me on a brand new pathway. It set me on a journey to discover how to be a better person and a better leader. And I'm not going to kid you, it has not been easy. I'm still fiery, but it has been worthwhile because the calmer under pressure I become, the more I upgrade both my personal and my professional life. So by working on personal mastery at performing under pressure, I've gone on to inspire thousands of other individuals and be the type of leader that does transform. So if you're challenged with a short temper and charged outbursts, then changing this trait is important because you don't want to be like me and be waking up at 2 a.m. in the morning, stressed and drenched in sweat, reliving your explosions that are harming relationships with the people around you. Well, you might be on the opposite end of the continuum to me. Maybe you're the type of person that when pressure comes up, you freeze and you shut down and you shut out what's happening. And as you and I both know, well, that doesn't work out real well for you either, because people may like you, but likely they're treating you like a doormat. And every now and then the pressure builds and then you erupt. It's like a volcano goes off. Everyone goes, what the hell, where did that come from? But you erupt because you've damped down your thoughts and your feelings instead of being able to communicate calmly and clearly what you want. So the moral of the story is clear. You can control your initial impulses, whether that's attack or withdrawal, and perform under pressure. You can get your brain engaged and cool your overheated emotions and get the right things coming out of your mouth, especially when the stakes are high. You can say what you have to say clearly and strongly in a way that the other person can hear. But like I said, I'm not going to kid you, this isn't easy, but it is monumentally worth it. A leopard can indeed change its spots. And when you become an emotional master, you'll transform your own and others' world. If you want to take your emotional mastery to a whole new level, well, I invite you to check out the Performing Under Pressure program, where I teach you how to get on top of your trigger points and how to switch into the brilliance that you have inside you when you're calm. The great news, it'll only take you a few minutes a day to put into play the skills you learn on the program. So you can get all the details at go.makeadentleadership.com/EQ, or use the little QR code. All right, see you soon.